You've just entered the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. If you've come for actual legal advice, you need to turn right around, honey. You need to get out of here, 'cause you ain't gonna get none of that. They quibble, and they squabble, and they bicker. But if you want to hear meaningless opinions, this is the right place. They got plenty of that. Stuff that makes no sense at all. They go off on tangents. It's crazy talk. If that's your thing, keep listening. They'll keep talking.
Oh no no, oh no no, it's another episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. You've entered the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Yay!
Welcome to another edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this April 10th, 2021. I want to welcome a very special guest. He's special because we don't know anything about him, and he is a replacement for one guest who didn't arrive today. His name is Anthony J. Williams III, who is the host of the podcast The Independent Mouth, and he is going to later help us out when discussing our current client, Case Your State. So that will be later in the episode. To begin with, Anthony, since we really don't know anything about you other than you have a real estate business and you have your own podcast, tell us a little bit about the podcast, and a little bit about you, and why you're here today.
Yeah, so thank you so much, guys, for having me on, and
You're quite welcome.
it's a pleasure. You know, short notice, not it's a pleasure to get on and get to share the story. Yeah, I host the Independent Mouth podcast, which basically gives just down the middle, right? Down the middle. I don't care where you're from, right? There's so much crap going on out there. I wanted a platform where anybody could go on. I don't care, what you believe in. It's about joining a community and having some fun and talking about stuff that's going on out there. But yeah, a little bit of stuff that's happened. So
So the podcast isn't about real estate; it's just about anything.
no, you could come on, right? So what I noticed how the podcast got started, I'll give you guys that. Last year, I authored a book, self-published a book, on borrowed time, the reinvention of a lost soul. That came out at the beginning of the year. Book was doing great. Was starting up with book signings, getting all the good stuff going, and COVID hits. And my father kept kind of pushing me, and he said, I've been in real estate. I've been in real estate from 2001 to 2008. And then got out of real estate a little bit because obviously tons of stuff that happened in 2008 with the markets. Came out to California. Long story short, take us up to 2020. And my father over the last couple of years kept saying, you need to do a podcast, go out there, talk, you got gift to gab, go talk with people. People like to have conversations with you, go do your thing, go enjoy it, find something that you love to do. So I buy the podcast platform on March 17th of 2020. And I say, hey, I'm going to promote my book and I'm going to do all this stuff. That was my normal intentions behind what was there because the book was helping people. My father passes away the next day. And it was,
wow, that sucks.
yeah. Well, you got to find the best of things, right? I lost my best friend in the process, but he
Right.
pushed me to start the process. So I actually started the process doing the podcast. And I just had the fuckits. I said, I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm doing my own shit. I'm not going to follow anybody's lead. A podcast is a podcast. There's a million out there. So how are you going to be different? And I said, you know what? I don't care if you're on the right. I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you got 3 eyes, 2 fingers. I don't give a shit. We're going to come on and have normal conversations. So
I'm glad that you had a case of the fuckets today, because that's why you're on the show, is because you just.
Oh, every day's a case of like, dude, I'm married with 2 kids. Every day I got the fuckets. Are you kidding me? I'm debate every day. I'm debating to go play in traffic or run away. Okay, if I don't hit the lotto. So there's my 2 fucking choices every single day. So I had gotten into this with the podcast, just saying, I'm so tired of the toxicity and people talking about the same shit all over the place. Nobody's funny anymore. You can't be funny. That's why I wanted to do this podcast, because as soon as I heard the name and I started talking with you guys, I'm like, okay, we can have some fun. That's
But
what
like
I'm
you said,
about.
though, we can't be funny. So there's that issue.
Yeah. Nobody can be funny. I mean, you guys might not be funny in your own minds, but I'm going to have a damn good time no matter where I am. So,
Okay, well, good. We're going to rely on you to elevate this show.
You're gonna bring the funny.
That's right, because
Yeah.
we're just going to be boring old fuckers. So
Yeah.
we're a year now from starting the podcast, and I started just reaching out to authors. I'm like, let me find those people who are finding some success and try and bring some reality back to this friggin' world, man. Like, not everybody's in the top 1%. Not everybody sells 1 million books. Not everybody has 20 million followers. Okay, that's just not real life for everybody.
Greg does. Greg has all of that.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. He can have it. But
Greg
I
is
don't.
independently wealthy and the smartest man in the world.
I don't like to brag about it, but it's true.
I can tell you now, from what I've observed, I will completely concur with that observation. Okay, how about that? Does that work?
I mean, we were lucky to
surroundings.
get an Instagram influencer like Greg for the show.
He does
And
many
TikTok
dances
dancer.
on TikTok. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of TikTok dancing. He's a fabulous asset to our show.
He knows how to swing his elbows.
I put the ass in asset
That's
when I twerk, especially on TikTok.
Listen, I would prefer you send me the twerking videos, because there are points in the day where I need a good uplift, and so if at any time you want to throw those in, I'm all for it.
Yeah, actually, I'd like a copy of those too, Greg.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're a year later, right? And when I went to go and I'm looking at this podcast thing, I said, hey, we're doing good, right? The last couple months we've done really well, especially like with all the politics shit, right? Because you had these people going nuts. People were going nuts out there. Like, I don't like you. We're not friends anymore. You supported Trump, or you didn't support Trump. You're crazy. You eat babies. I mean, the shit, like the stuff all over the place was just nuts. So I said, I'm going to go right down the middle. And that's what I did. I've been going right down the middle.
You just offended Brendan because he does eat babies.
Well,
Hey, we said we weren't going to talk about my reptilian shapeshifting background. That is off limits.
He's still
Is
in the
that
closet
only
about
on
that,
weekends?
Max. Don't out him.
Yeah, it's just a weekend thing. It's just live and let live. That's what I say. Or
Baby
or
chicken.
die if you're a baby.
yeah, I wanted to ask. I have a problem. Usually, when I get into those things, it's only happens in days that end in Y, and that's usually what ends up happening to me, where I have that problem. It becomes a very consistent thing. So
Yeah.
No, man, it's just grinding. Doing the stuff with you guys, right? Getting out there, trying to provide something positive for people, somewhere somebody can laugh, and that's what I've been trying to incorporate into all the videos. So, consulting background, build video games. That's my degree in building video games. So I have 2 games that are publicly in the Steam store, out for public consumption right now. So I've achieved those things, but I find where the greatest amount of joy comes in is doing stuff like this with you guys. And when people get to go back and listen to those messages where people say, hey, that, brightened up my day, right? I don't care what I was going through, got to laugh, we were able to bring the funny back into stuff. That's what I've been doing.
What's the name of your games that you said you did?
So there's 2 games. One of them is Vectromirror.0, right? So Vectromirror.0 and then Vectromirror. And the reason why.
So one is cooler than the other because you added a .0.
Wow. Actually, it was very difficult because one was actually only supposed to be like a demo, but we did more and added it because it was a very small game team, right? And then we released the second one, and they're parkour games that people really like. It's a first person type of parkour game that kind of mixes, like for you guys, right? Tron a little bit, and
what the hell is that supposed to mean?
For
you guys,
wait, I think I got it wrong. He said Tron, but I think he meant Pong.
No. I meant Tron, because look, when I'm in a meeting with a bunch of cottontops, I have to talk their language, right?
Wait,
so
we're cottontops.
Cottontops.
I had no idea that I had never heard that term before. I love it.
I mean, white hair on top.
How about if you have no hair on top?
You got the beard, man.
Yeah, it's all in the beard, the white.
Yeah, if I
so
get rid
you
of
have
like
no
this
hair,
part,
you default to the natural state, right? So you kind of get grouped in no matter what.
I see. So anyway, you're talking to these, let's call them cottontops. These rabbit identifiers, right? They identify as bunnies.
Yeah.
And you're at the meeting and with the furries, and what happened?
I find that term offensive, by the way.
Of course, because you're in Oregon.
Really?
But, yeah, carry on, California guy.
I'm triggered right now.
I know.
You're triggered.
It's okay.
So
I'm triggered.
Go set something on fire, Greg.
Please do. Please
identifying as a mutton shop now. Anyway, but go
no,
ahead.
mutton chops are your your sideburns that get out of control. And we've seen enough of people. Look, I live in Southern California, man. You want to talk about mutton chops or you want to talk about some weird dudes? We'll see you in Southern California. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah, San Diego's got like what mutton chop like biker guys running around.
You want bikers?
Yeah, that's just the 10-year-olds, Brendan.
Oh, okay.
Man, we live in California, right? We live in California where, you're on EDD, but your kids got Gucci shoes. Okay. So don't worry. That's California.
What is EDD?
They're on like food stamps.
Oh, I thought it was education deficit disorder. I wasn't sure.
No, that's something else. Well, we're in Florida, so they're just all on bath salts and fighting over chicken nuggets.
Okay. Now you say that. So I worked in the addiction industry in 2011, 2012. And have you ever heard the term jankum?
You crank them, we jank them?
No, that's something different, Matt. Let's not talk about that.
Okay, you talk about bath salts taking the cake. Now, I had gone through rehab. I had done a lot of that stuff. I had open heart surgery at 21. I was given less than 48 hours to live. That's what my book is about. I was playing semi-pro hockey, couldn't do that anymore because of the open heart surgery. Been on blood thinners for now the last 17 years. So I decided maybe it's a good idea I get into that business, man. I'll get some self-gratification. I'll help this stuff up, right? Well,
when you say the addiction business, you mean like creating addiction and making money off of it? Off of addiction?
No. That's scumbag shit. What I mean is where you're actually getting people into treatment, right? Okay. So maybe they're calling one of these hotlines and you're working for a treatment facility. But here's the problem. The people in treatment are weird people. I'm not talking about the addicts or the people trying to get help. I'm talking about the people who are supposed to be there to help you, right? It's a very weird business because the lines of ethics get blurred very easily, right?
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
So,
Well, okay. So say you own a treatment facility. You're going to walk into an AA meeting and talk to people how their life could be better, but really you're trying to purge them to get them into your facility. Or you take an addict. You take an addict that's in your facility, pay them money monthly for them to go to another treatment facility and pull people from that treatment facility to bring them to yours so you can get the insurance money.
Wow.
Oh, so you basically
send scouts like into other treatment facilities.
No, you prey on people who are fucking addicts, man, because that person who comes in, they're going to go get loaded. You gave them $3,000 for the month. What do you think they're going to do the second they get out? They're going to go get loaded, go into another treatment facility. You're going to pay them for the people that they bring in. How do you think that cycle ends? That cycle doesn't end, man. That's a bad cycle, right? So I started seeing a lot of these different things. Long story short, I'm like, all right, I'm going to help people. I'm going to help people. But it was so gross to see these things happening, especially when you had gone through that, right? And you know people that had gone through that. Not a good place, right? But I had worked in that industry. And the reason why I brought that up was bath salts was coming up at that time. This was 2011, 2012. Bath salts was really getting some things. Jankum. So I got a call. Somebody calls and says, "Do you help people who have done jankum?" I'm like, "What the fuck is jankum?" But like, it felt like a Nickelodeon episode. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, "Am I getting slimed right now?" You know what I mean? Like what's happening? So, exactly. So jankum is like poor towns that live near like waste places, right? So all of the gas that comes off of those things that are in that mud, all the stuff that leaks out.
You mean like by sewage treatment facilities?
Oh, dude, disgusting. Yeah, they put it in
like
buckets.
Methane. They're all like inhaling, huffing methane?
They essentially put like a balloon over something and it grabs the gas. You take that gas out and you start huffing the jankum from all these methanes, right? No joke. It's disgusting.
This
sounds
is like science fiction,
actually.
No, you can look it up. Well, you can look it up. There was a person. I remember seeing this video, dude. I almost threw up. And mind you, I have done some things in my life. This almost made me throw up. People going to the bathroom in apartments in buckets and then covering the buckets essentially with the balloon because from your waste and the waste is the methane gases.
Oh my God,
dude.
So they're huffing shit smell.
They're huffing shit. They're huffing shit steam. That's what they're huffing, okay?
Huffing shit steam.
And it's called jank. And where does the name jank?
That's gonna be a band name for me, I think. Huffing shit steam.
or the name of your
I'm
next
glad
child.
I could help you out.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of an indie folk kind of thing. Getting back
like
to
the country song,
like the next Mumford and Sons is.
Yeah,
you shit in my bucket. I sniffed your gas.
I mean, think how organic
Very
huffing
organic,
shit
apparently.
steam is. There's nothing required but a bucket and loose bowels. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
No,
here's the conundrum. Conundrum. Where do you get the shit when you're not eating and just doing drugs? Because that's where the question came in for me.
Every porta potty that they use for homeless people. That's where you go.
I guess, but that's what got me. And not long after that, man, was kind of when the fentanyl stuff really started hitting. With places, and it was kind of getting dribbed in, and you started seeing. I had a really good friend whose wife died. She had gone back out. She was hiding it, and the stuff had fentanyl in it, man, and that stuff is really potent. But that business is a business where I tried to get back into it summer of last year, and the same thing, man. The guys who were coming off like, we're good guys, we're really trying to help people. We're like, hey, are you going to go to meetings and go talk to people? I'm like, hey, I don't pull people from meetings, right? You're crossing an ethical barrier for me that I'm not good with, so I no longer work with them, right? You have to draw a line. That business is it's preying on people's worst case scenarios with their families.
I mean, obviously there are people out there doing it from the good of their own heart, but obviously
there's
tons of them.
There's sex addict meetings to cruise women. That's so sleazy.
The 13th step. Oh, dude, if I told you, so I met my wife out in California, but the stories that I would hear from, we're talking 50, 60-year-old guys, right? And I'm not saying that's not a joke towards you guys or anything, but we're talking, I'm not saying that for a slight, but I'm saying just imagine 55-year-old dude who's claiming they got, okay, so imagine you, right? You claiming you got 20 years of sobriety. Now you got this 23-year-old girl who's been tapping veins with heroin, doesn't know who she is, was abused, whatever else. And this guy comes over, is like, hey, I got 20 years of sobriety. I'm going to be your sponsor, but also I'm going to bang the hell out of you the whole time, which we're not supposed to do. And I'm going to do all this stuff. And then when I'm done with you, I'm just going to be done with you because you're going to end up going back out again. That's the nasty shit, right? The politics.
I think you just gave Greg some really bad ideas.
I know. I'm writing notes.
You couldn't tell, but he was writing notes with his left hand.
Greg is notorious for dating women much younger than him as well, too. So I can see this happening.
Yeah, I need more pointers on how to meet women, and that sounds like a good one. Thanks.
Yeah, what I would do, if you want mine, I would just say, call yourself Teddy Ruxpin. Any woman of the age of that was born in the 80s will be all over you like crazy.
That's right. You'll no longer be referred to as Greg here. You will be Teddy Ruxpin.
I'm just so bummed.
That's your new handle, man. Teddy Ruxpin.
I was a dog walker for a few years. That was my side job, and I'm so pissed that I threw away all that dog shit when I could have been selling it to jank addicts.
You could have took that down to Florida and made yourself bank.
I could have turned that shit into gold.
It all smells like roses, doesn't it?
How did I miss this opportunity? That just seems, you just go door to door just collecting shit, and I don't know.
No, you put a front. You guys are missing the point. You got to make a front. You make a front business, which is sewage cleaning.
And then you go to get to the septic tanks, and then
that's it. You go get free product, and then you huff that on the back end. Dude, come on, man. You got to scale this.
Or porta potties. I can have porta
potties. This is the next
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Except we're going to call
worse.
it what? Breaking Wind?
Yes.
I think that movie was made already.
Breaking Wind?
Yeah, or it was a Mighty Wind. Sorry. Different movie.
A little
entirely.
different.
It's a little different.
So you were a semi-pro hockey player. So what does semi-pro mean? Does it mean that you play for an organization, but you pay them to do it, right?
No. I was playing essentially the line of juniors and semi-pro before I got sick. So I was playing for the Junior Rangers, and the only next step really to do is if you want to finish out your college or you're going to go get drafted into the pros, right? Mm-hmm. Well, before any of that stuff could have happened, I had open heart surgery at 21. So that was done, right? I got
now,
sick.
was the open heart surgery because of the addictions or for just a
no,
janky heart, so to speak?
The condensed story is, right, I had a heart murmur ever since I was a little kid. Doctors could not understand if that was I was born with it or it came from strep throat, or rheumatic fever, right? Those are two things that can cause a heart murmur. Well, because I was playing hockey at so many levels for so long that the anaerobic workout would seal the mitral valve. So the mitral valve has a leak in it in your heart. So if you look through all your valves, the mitral valve itself, it goes like this. This is how it looks, and blood comes in and out of this valve, right? So that's what it does. Well, this little slit, water would just, not blood or fluids would come out, right? So some of the blood would leak a little bit. Due to the anaerobic workout, it was so tight and so strong that I really wasn't having leaking. Well, at some point, the dam breaks, right? There is no controlling that. If it's going to go wrong, something goes wrong. Well, I ended up getting a bacterial infection. The bacterial infection was called endocarditis. It's very common. It is a bacterial infection that attacks your heart, right? The weakest parts of your heart. And what it did was it ate those valves. So instead of having the flaps, I had this. So it was just constant pressure going in and out, right? That'll cause a stroke. That'll cause a heart attack. It does those things.
So you had an alien creature inside eating your insides out, basically.
That is a good way to put it, yes.
Okay.
And then when I woke up on the 1st of January in 2004, and my finger was triple the size and black. And I'm like,
which
what?
finger?
It was this finger,
oh,
right?
That's not the good one. You want the pinky to be that big.
No. I mean, look, I've had a lot of fun in my life. If my pinky was that big at times, I might have had a girlfriend at that point in time. But what happened was this finger was black and triple the size. And it was because the endocarditis ate my heart so bad at the valves that the pieces of the valve were going into my toes and my fingers. So I was hemorrhaging under my toes, I hemorrhaged in my fingers, and I was hemorrhaging behind my eyes. So they were giving me less than 48 hours to live because they had to pump me with so much gentamicin and penicillin that they could not guarantee that I wouldn't go blind, deaf, or die because of how much stuff that they had to give me. Right. So I started maniacally laughing like the Joker from Batman inside of the hospital. Right. And at this, because I mean, what are you going to do, bro? I'm 21 years old. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is how I go out. Right. Like I've done so much stupid shit in my life, but this is how I go out. Right. Like this is it. This is how it goes. End up surviving, end up pulling through that. Turned out well, 6 weeks of bed rest. And I went into open heart surgery. I woke up during the surgery. That's a whole nother thing.
There's a hole in my chest.
No, it was when they were rolling me over, they were kind of done and kind of getting me situated to, try and recover. And I saw all the wires, everything else. And I woke up to Dr. Oz, if you know Dr. Oz from TV. Him and
good friends.
My surgeon were good friends, and my surgery happened at Columbia Presbyterian. But here's the best part of the whole story was when I woke up, I had this hot nurse, right? I just woke up, bro. Like I'm 21 years old, man. Like I thought I was on like a bender or something, right? At this point, like,
I like where the story's heading.
Hey, I wake up and she's got her hands in my pants, dude, pulling the catheter out, right? So with my whole family there, groggy, out of surgery, I go, thank God she's hot. And that's the only, but at that point I was drooling and I was all dry because I'm on anesthesia and all this shit, right? So she starts laughing hysterical while someone's handing me a juice box and I'm drooling going, oh, she's hot, right? So they start laughing. And as I get the word hot out while I'm drooling, Dr. Oz is looking at me like, you're strong, kid. I'm like, who the fuck are you? I have no idea who you are. All these people staring at me because I was one of the youngest people to get a mechanical heart valve at that point in time. So, I was kind of like a study. And
you are now as well.
Yeah, wow. I will be for your show. Yeah, no, I think the best part was really honestly fucking with all the old people while I was in the hospital because I was the youngest person there. So I would talk shit to the people. They had a good time. We had fun. I would just kind of stand there. You're wearing these gowns with your ass hanging out and your balls dragging all over. Like everywhere you turned around, you're in a hospital with old people. There's just balls, bro, dangling. Like these people are sitting places and their gowns are up on their knees, but their balls are by the floor. So like as you walk by, you're like, come on. Thank God I was in hockey locker rooms my whole life, right? Where you practice not staring. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, I got a glimpse of that chewed up gumball. We're good. Fucking move on to the next side.
This medical story brought to you by the Independent Mouth.
Yeah.
Sponsored
So what's
by
the name?
Low-hanging balls.
Low-hanging balls. What's the name of your book, Anthony?
It's called On Borrowed Time: The Reinvention of a Lost Soul. I talk about this stuff.
It can be found on Amazon. You can also get it on Kindle. It has 4.5 stars.
You can also purchase it on the website, theindependentmount.com. If you want a signed copy or something from me, you can order it there, request a signed copy.
If you want Greg to sign it, send it to Greg. Greg will sign it for you too.
There you go. And now
you're gonna pay me.
Here's what I'll tell you. So we went from that, right? You think that shit's crazy. Then I go deliver my daughter in the car on the 15 freeway in California at 8 o'clock in the morning during
right
rush
after
hour
the
traffic.
Surgery?
No, fuck no. This is 12 years later.
Oh,
but
okay.
as we get there, life took some crazy turns, man. In that 12 years of me being out here in California. So from going from that surgery, got into some addiction stuff, man. Just was. I tell a lot of people when you go through something like that very young. I had lost my careers now, right? Like everything was in flux.
Right.
And this is why I wrote the book, right? It was how do you reinvent your life? How do you become something different? I had lost my hockey. Dude, it's all I knew. My hockey career was all I knew. That's gone. I was selling real estate. That was going, right? We're coming towards 2008 where everything's crashing, right? I wasn't this, huge, big guy, right? All over the place. I was making good money, but I wasn't, one of these guys that had been doing it for 20 years. Just got into drugs and addiction, man, went crazy. Thought I was Superman, thought I could survive everything and got my ass beat by it. And, went, cleaned up my life, ended up met me and my wife out in California, had my son. And then,
so how did you get from open heart surgery in New York to California? What
I was so bad. I was so bad, man. There was, it's why I wrote the book, because for a long time you have all this guilt, you have all this remorse that you just screwed up your life. You're no good, right? Why am I here? Good friends were dying, whether it was from drugs or other things, and people were dying. So what the fuck am I here for, right? I got to survive all this stuff for what, right? I had some sexual abuse when I was a kid, not from my family, from somebody else who was a friend of the family, right? So that kind of set me on a path of fuckits from the beginning. And hockey was my escape. Now I no longer have that. So what am I going to do? Right. My mind went twisted, man. It went twisted. It was 5-6 years of thinking I was fucking Superman and I could be everything and anything that I wanted to be, failing the entire way. My parents were trying to be supportive, but they had reached a point and basically said, hey, either you get some help or get out, because we can't watch you die. We're your parents. We can't watch you die. And this little guy, Jimmy, man, shows up at my house. They block my cars. And dude, I am one of those people. I can be your best friend or I could be your worst enemy. And they knew at this point I was going to be their worst enemy, because they were telling me something was wrong and I didn't see it. So I wake up and car's blocked in. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I walk up in the kitchen. There's this little Spanish guy like, Anthony, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And he doesn't know me, my parents. Now my dad runs in between. My dad was 6'4", 250. Now he runs in between me and the guy, because I said, if you don't get at my house, I'm going to fucking kill you. And the guy's like, deer in headlights. My dad runs in the middle and he's like, you aren't doing anything. I said, I will go through you too to get him out of my house. And my dad's like, this isn't your house anymore. And like, at that point, I'm like, oh, well, we got a problem now. I go downstairs and I got my 120-pound rottweiler, downstairs. Her name was Bella. And I'm just like, in my head at that point in time, man, no joke. It just was, it's over. Anthony, it's over. I took a bowl, dumped any drugs that I had in a special pouch, put them right in the toilet. It was kind of like an awakening,
so this guy was there as an intervention.
He was there as an interventionist, man, but he was petrified. Yeah, he was petrified. My entire family surrounded him. And it was just really, I look back to it. I've apologized to him, right? When I look back to it, it's like, what were you doing? I was in such, I felt deceit, like my own family deceived me, right? Like that's how I felt. Like they threw me to the wolves. They didn't care anymore.
You'd think they would sort of size that sort of situation up, like, okay, so we're going to send this guy to this sort of large group of white people. Let's find a short, Hispanic guy to do that. Hey, Chavez, what are you doing this afternoon? I got nothing going on, sir. All right, you're gonna go. This guy used to be a semi-pro hockey player. His dad's some kind of giant monster himself. Could you go and just extract this drug addict, please? Sure.
Is Chavez your like generic name for Mexican people, Brendan?
No, that was just
you know
the name I came up with itself.
Okay,
I could have said Jose.
Yeah.
That would have been more like generic.
No,
Jose was my counselor. And Jose was my counselor, and Mr. Chavez was the guy who came and fucking did the intervention. So there you go.
And Greg lives on Cesar Chavez Boulevard.
There it
All
is.
ties in. But if you don't mind, can we get back to the hot nurse? So
Yeah.
did you seek her out when you got well? Did you say I'm gonna hook up with that lady?
Hey, the entire time, man, I was talking to her. I said, when I get better, we should hang out. She was in Jersey. So I was flipping my game the entire time I was in the hospital.
First, turns out 2 weeks later, he comes back. She's actually like 63 years old.
No, she was hot, man. She could have been 40, 50. It didn't matter. I know they were pumping me with some good shit, but she was, without a doubt, she looked like
Phyllis
she was
Diller.
a hot nurse. She was good, man.
It wasn't the heroin goggles you had on, or
no,
painkiller goggles.
I wanted to test that theory out.
I have a question. Anthony, do you know who Phyllis Diller is?
Phyllis Diller, yes. It sounds very familiar, but I will cheat quickly.
Yes, I don't know who she is.
No, it's fine. I was just laughing because Matt dropped that she's like Phyllis Diller, and I'm like, he doesn't know who Phyllis Diller is.
I do, but here's the thing. The name Phyllis Diller, I
sounds
absolutely
familiar.
do.
Sure.
Yeah, I absolutely know Phyllis Diller, but the issue that comes in is
she was Nelson Mandela's vice president while he was heading South Africa.
Get out of here. She wasn't. She was in Bug's Life. I was trying to think of the movies. That was the problem that I had.
Bug's Life. Was she in Bug's Life?
Was she still alive when that movie came out?
No, that was 90. That's why I was looking, because I was trying to think of which one of which movie that she was in, but the last one that it was she was over 45 movies, man. Holy Jesus. But Phyllis Diller, Phyllis Diller's last one was A Bug's Life, and then the one that I was thinking was the stuff that she did do with no. Yeah, it is.
Was she the Queen Ant in Bug's Life?
She was also, this is the one. She was in Happily Ever After and The Nutcracker, and those are the ones that I remember from my childhood that were the ones sticking with Phyllis Diller. So those are the only ones that I could put.
She won the Academy Award for Sophie's Choice, though. That was her
did
landmark role. Yeah,
she did not. Okay, enough.
She was the horse in that movie.
And she had her own show too, guys. I mean, but she was, she was the queen in Bug's Life too. Just to let you know.
Yeah, that's what I thought. She was the Queen Ant. I can kind of hear her voice
Correct.
now when I think about the show.
Mm-hmm.
So on the Independent Voice, do you do a lot of politics?
It's the Independent Mouth, Greg.
Sorry, Independent
Brendan,
Mouth.
Fred,
Okay.
whoever you are.
Yeah,
if you're gonna quibble, get it right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think what I do on the Independent Mouth is I do at least 1 to 2 shows a week of news, taking everything that we hear from whether it's far left to far right and giving my independent take on it, and and going at both sides, man. I go at both sides. I just want to call it down the middle, right? If you're a scumbag and you're a Republican, you're a Republican scumbag. Like, it's that simple, right? Like, there is no way around it. If you're a Democratic scumbag, you're a Democratic scumbag. It's as simple as that. We call it down the middle. And the thing with the news is, without obviously getting unfunny, because it tends to do that to people with politics, but a lot of people really don't know shit about what's going on, no matter what you talk about, right? Whether it's their real life, whether it's actual politics. And for me, you would try to have conversations with people and they just regurgitate stuff back, right? And you're like, I can't even have a conversation with you, right? Like, I've moved on past that from 3 weeks ago. You're still stuck here, right? Like, we can't do this. I
think that actually leads us into our client really well for the day, which is
yes.
Case Your State, which is essentially we're going to be discussing the stereotypes that are associated with various different states in the country. So, which state do you think in the country has the primary population that just regurgitates information back to other people? Which one do you think it fulfills that stereotype the most? Would it be Alabama?
No.
No?
New York.
Florida.
Well, he says New York. I want to get the New York theory.
I say New York, right? So after following all this stuff, I had to go to New York because that's where my family is. And so right at the beginning of the pandemic, I went to New York. And when you see what kind of a shit show that was, oh gosh, God almighty.
Are you talking about New York City or all of New York State?
Well, New York City is a big chunk of New York. When you talk about news and following things, people don't pay attention to upstate New York, right? Like they know it exists, but they think of New York, they think of, midway down, right?
Yeah.
New York, the way people talk there when it comes time to politics, there are so many people that just like they don't want to deal with it anymore. It's been too painful. You know what I mean? And so when you talk about like how people are regurgitating stuff, the thing I hear people regurgitating the entire time across all of those is, I just want to go back to normal. Florida to me has allowed people to do that. They kind of gave them like, hey, my body, my choice, right? Like I want to go to Florida. I want to go do this. Hey, if I'm going to take a chance, I'm going to take a chance, and that's my life. But you have to think of where the hubs are out there. Like you guys say, right? New York and California. If you're going to hear news regurgitated, it's coming out of those places and filtering, and Hollywood's been very quiet, right? Like California's been very quiet over these last couple months. You're not hearing those people. So different news is seeping in. And I just think people are tired of this whole, coronavirus thing. So they don't even care anymore. Do
you think people are tired of it? No. I think people wanted to go on for at least a couple more years.
You think
I like
so?
the quietness, the less traffic. It's more placid now.
I have a question for you then too, because this always comes up, and this has come up across my show. This has come across guests.
You want this from the stereotype of cottontops?
Yes,
Okay.
because you guys are, because cottontops means super old, and
I identify as a lone wolf. Oh
yes. So I ask you guys this, right? I definitely I do miss the engagements like with kids with my baseball team and stuff. But when you talk about like kind of how things slowed down, where you didn't feel like you were in a hamster wheel all the time, whether that's traffic on the freeway, you know what I mean? Those things that you just kind of became accustomed to. I think you're 100% right, man. Like driving with no ridiculous traffic in California was like a blessing. California is one of the worst places, man. That place is constantly packed on the freeways.
Right.
I have a lot of friends who were, forced to work from home, and they were like, "I'm not going back. I fucking love this new life."
So, what was your particular question? I think I missed it.
My question was, did you guys enjoy, like, do you miss the engagement, of what was going on, of with people? I have, 2 kids.
You mean miss traffic?
Baseball. Not traffic, people. Did you actually miss people or not?
No, absolutely not. I can't stand people.
The three of us, in case you don't know, are we've alienated basically everyone in our lives.
Yeah, we're boring old men who don't want to go out anyway. We don't want to go out.
I worked a corporate job for years, and in marketing and sales at a software company, and I just had enough of people, frankly.
Yeah.
And so I had already quarantined and self-isolated almost 2 years before this happened. And so when all this shit went down, I was like, really? Like I had people call me, I homeschool my daughter. I had already. People call like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, get over yourself. Teach her whatever. It doesn't. Get on with your life. So quarantine for me was not a problem. Sometimes if I'm really long at the grocery store with a mask on, it gets a little irritating. But then I think, yeah, but the guy at the checkout counter has been wearing that for 8 hours, so I shouldn't really bitch.
Yeah.
That's what I have to do at my job. I got to wear that fucking mask. Fogs up my glasses. I fucking hate it.
I have a karaoke business, so basically last March it all shut down, and the extent of my socialization was basically running karaoke at bars. The rest of my free time would generally be spent not socializing with people. So for me, it was like, okay, the worst part about it is that normally I would have time at home with a lot of solitude. And
Yes.
the weird thing is that my house became more socially active than it was. 'Cause we
Oh,
had a
You guys would
college
have drum
student who had to
circles
come
and stuff?
home, and then we've got two other boys who are essential workers actually. So, and then my wife is a school teacher, and so she was teaching from home, and I'm like, now, I mean, for me, it kind of became the opposite. I have no alone time anymore.
No, that's me. That's why I asked the question. I have
It's
2
like,
kids,
yeah,
man, and I was working
I
from home.
miss the alone time from the quarantine. Is what it's.
This
what's
is
happened for
what's
me.
happened. This is what's happened. I was working from home doing consulting, all that stuff, prior. So say 5 years before all this, hit, right? So like you, right? I'm like, when I want to get my fill of people, I go out into the public. When I don't want to talk to people anymore, I go home. It's very simple.
yeah.
Very black and white, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
But now you add my 8, 9-year-old home every freaking day, in quarantine. Like,
Right.
if you have an 8 or 9-year-old boy, it is methamphetamine shaken up in a Pepsi. Okay. That is what they are. That's all that they are. They are just
Jankum.
they're jankums, bro. That's what they are. They are jankums. They're their own little mini terrorist jankums. Okay. And they run around and they just explode all over the house. Now combine that at this point with a 2
They're
or 3-year-old.
exploding in the house. I think we had somebody talking about explosions last week too, of people just exploding in different parts of the country. Anyway.
So, do you have 2 boys or a boy and a girl?
No, I got a boy and a girl. And,
Okay.
the 3-year-old girl, man, there's a 6-year difference. And I'm nervous because she is tough, but that determination to become everything that her older brother is at 3 is like, are you going to have a point where like you don't want to jump off of something really high, or do exactly what they're doing where I have to worry the entire time? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I found I have my oldest is a girl, then I had 2 boys, and then I had a girl. Girls were much easier. You're absolutely
Yes.
right. My boys were giant pains in the ass, constantly climbing up stuff, breaking stuff, running through sliding glass doors.
Oh, yeah.
I put them in football just so they could just do that. I actually put them on an all African American football team. Like, they were the only white kids in the league, and they didn't realize this for like, I don't know, maybe a season. And then one of them, the oldest now, who's 23, turns to me and goes, "Dad, we're the only white people here." And I said, "I know." And he shows up
And
at
then
the football.
you didn't say that doesn't matter, son. There is no race.
I didn't give him a lesson. No, I said, yeah. And you know what? You're never gonna outrun them. You're never gonna probably outthrow them, but you can tackle the shit out of them. And that's what you do, my son, and go for it. And both of my boys did that, and they were all-star defensive players all through Pee Wee
awesome.
football. Yeah.
Affirmative action, in a way.
Yeah, affirmative action, blah, blah. But my girls, what I think you'll find is that your girl will start to settle out at about 4, 5, 6, and she'll start to like spend her time organizing her things. And she won't, at least my experience, the girls, thank God that my young one was a girl, because I could just give her some things to do and she would just do them. And she wasn't, yelling and screaming, and the room would go silent, and I'm like, oh my God, they've climbed inside the oven again,
Yeah.
Where I had to do
they're
that
not
with my
going
boys.
through the sliding glass doors you made. So
Right.
they go through the sliding glass door, then dive into the oven and shut the door. So this is an interesting childhood you've raised for them.
That was my boys. Yeah.
So
Well,
we're kind of ignoring our client a little bit. So I want to kind of like go through different states. You guys tell me what stereotype is like associated with that particular state that you can think of. So let's do just one random one. Michigan. What's the stereotype about Michigan?
They're all assholes.
Kidnapping the
Dirty
governor.
water.
Dirty water. That's a good answer.
I like
Michael
the concept
Moore.
of governor kidnappers. Like that's where they're raised. It's like if you want a governor kidnapped, you want to go hire the guys from Michigan to get that done for you. Or if you want them to actually fail at kidnapping a governor, hire the guys from Michigan. All right.
There's a lot of animosity in Michigan. You know that, right? Like I used to play hockey up there, and they call each other youpers and trolls. So the people
and trolls.
The
What's
trolls
a
are the people. A youpie is the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
So if you were on the lower part, they call them youppies. If you're on the lower part, they call you a troll. It's ridiculous. Like it's a lot of fun. But hey, that's your fun fact, okay?
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad you came on today for this. You're perfect for this episode. For this client, they're going to get their money's worth. No, they never get their money's worth. Anyway, all right. So Iowa, what's the stereotype from people from Iowa?
Assholes.
Greg, you're saying that for everyone.
Yeah,
Football.
everyone's an ass. I think everyone's
Football
an
and
asshole.
corn.
Football and corn
Iowa,
combined?
isn't Iowa all the people who run away from like California and New York because they want to go to the Midwest, but they don't want to go to like Nebraska?
No, the people who leave California, New York, go to either Florida or the Pacific Northwest.
No, they've been going out through New Mexico, Arizona, and then Iowa and Idaho are two of the biggest states now that people are going into fleeing California.
Really?
Well, I think since we have the riots here, people aren't coming to Oregon as much. But it used to be
Oregon.
the biggest
Why did you say
issue.
Oregon for the one that what you think of people? Because Oregon's a shit show. I mean, it's Seattle and my wife was born in Seattle, and I thought about taking a job up there, and then people say, "Hey, would you go up there now?" Fuck no, dude. First of all, I want to go kill myself because it rains all the time, and then I have to deal with assholes who won't let me cross the fucking street to go to work. I don't want to deal with this shit.
Who's not letting you go to street, go to work?
They were fucking protesting and everything, all in Seattle and Oregon, man. Didn't they still have all the protests?
Well, not
going
like
on?
the entire state, for crying out loud. It's not like there's people with picket signs lining up the highways.
You know,
Well, if I'm
Eastern
gonna stay in a
Oregon.
As a
shitty
matter of
state.
fact, Greg lives in the city of Portland, and he didn't even know that there were riots going on.
I literally for 5 days. I had no idea. I don't watch the news.
Oh, no
That-
wonder why.
but-
I'm surprised. That place was a shit show.
But that's
I mean,
because
what-
Greg is a shut-in, so that really
Yeah.
doesn't count.
Basically,
Yeah.
That's like saying, well, the Oompa Loompa didn't know about the situation in Syria. I mean, you know,
Honestly, no. If Greg
Oompa
walks
Loompa.
depends
by,
upon the Oompa Loompa you talk to.
That's-
Some of them are a little more worldly.
Maybe,
you know.
maybe.
Yeah. You have like
Wouldn't-
you
He
have
would fit
a whole
in.
scale of Oompa Loompa knowledge that you're. I
we
think-
have a
ignoring.
chemical problem for you.
I think the Oompa Loompas, the ones that actually turn orange, are from upstate New York. That's the stereotype for there.
oh,
No,
That's
they're-
where I'm from.
I think they're South Florida.
I think there's more nuclear meltdowns in New York than down.
I'm
in
curious
Florida.
about the states that nobody ever goes to, like Delaware. I've been in Delaware myself. I've never met a person from Delaware in my life. It's almost like
Did you know
they're
that
locked in.
Joe Biden is from Delaware, Greg?
Oh, I guess there's one person.
He's a fucking
who's from
potato.
Delaware.
You know why nobody ever tells you that they go to Delaware? Because Delaware fucking sucks. And nobody wants to go to Delaware for the reason because it's all poor. It's terrible schools, it's poor, and essentially nobody ever wants to tell you that they come from Delaware. They'll say they go to Maryland. They'll say that
Interestingly enough, I have a friend who lives in Delaware, and I'm going there this June.
Well, I've been to
Sorry.
Rehoboth Beach in Delaware.
Bring your
It's a
vest.
nice beach.
Bring my vest.
And Aubrey Plaza is from Delaware. She's apparently the most well-known person from Delaware. I don't know if you know who she is, but she was
never
in
met her.
Parks and Recreation.
Aubrey
was like-
Plaza, really?
She was the one who
That's-
played the girlfriend to Chris Pratt in
No,
Parks
I
and
know who
Recreation.
I
Okay.
know who Aubrey Plaza is. That's an odd reference of Delaware people.
It is.
Well,
And you know,
that's
Aubrey
because for the
Plaza,
longest time she
that
was the
sounds
most
like a
famous
really-
person from
that's-
Delaware before Biden started getting his name back out there again.
That sounds like a creepy old guy thing to say. I'm just going to call you out on
It's only from an interview where I saw where she said that, and I just thought it was a funny statement. Now
because you do a lot of
you haven't
watching-
what?
you do a lot of Aubrey Plaza YouTube videos.
I've seen a number of them. She's freaking hilarious.
Did Joe Biden rub her shoulders?
Not everyone has your issues, Brendan.
He sniffed her.
He sniffed her hair.
The guy's a fucking potato. I'm not even holding back on it. If you can't look at him without feeling sad. Okay? It is
Don't
old
disagree.
man abuse. It is a doddering old man that they are dangling in front of people, and this guy is a fucking potato. He can't get a sentence out of his mouth. Nobody wants to talk to him. That's Delaware. That's the
Hey,
representation
Jack,
of
let's
Delaware.
take it outside, Jack. Hey,
Hey,
Jack,
fat. Look here,
you
fat.
outside. You want to go outside?
That's just a lot of malarkey, you guys.
That's
are
a lot of it's like Corn Pop was a bad dude,
Oh, God.
Oh God. That guy, I can't watch him. I mean, there was a certain part of me that could watch Trump with some sort of odd weirdo fascination about how weird he was.
Yeah.
But like you said, Anthony, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, why is this guy? This is sad. This is a guy who's obviously in mental decline.
Just get a sentence out. That's
Right.
it. Like, just make me feel. Look, I didn't vote for him. I voted for Trump. I don't give a shit who cares. I don't care, right? I thought I wanted who was going to do the best for the country. As simple as that. That's all I wanted. When you can't, bro, I'm not even a president. I've never been in politics that way. I could get a sentence out. You can't. You've been in this for 50 years and you can't get a sentence out? Like, that is bad, right? So I just feel bad. Delaware, that's why Delaware loses. If that's who you have representing you, that's why the state's failing.
Well, we're not going to get into the insanity of why anyone would vote for Trump, so we're going to dodge that particular stereotype. And in terms of speeches, oh, right, fuck me twice regarding Trump speeches. So regardless of that,
I don't want to fuck you once, not even twice.
Oh, I know your fantasies. Anyway, so we're going to go back into another stereotype before we go into the black hole that is politics, especially the one we just talked about, or the two we just talked about, depending upon your point of view. So let's go for the ultimate stereotype, the place that gets stereotyped the most, New Hampshire.
Alabama.
New Hampshire.
Alabama is the stereotype for New Hampshire?
No. Oh, no, I thought the question was the state that's most stereotyped.
Right, New Hampshire. I want to know what the stereotype is that goes with New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
That's called being ironic or basically just overall.
Everyone in New Hampshire is a kindly old person who eats Pepperidge Farm cookies.
That's not true.
I don't know if I can beat that.
Having worked in politics and spent many months in New Hampshire, the stereotype for me is you can't get here or can't get there from here. Everywhere you go in New Hampshire, it's fucked. You'd be driving down a road and then there's a toll road and then you get off the toll road and you're like, the guy at the booth, and you're like, dude, I'm trying to get to Concord. And it's like north. And he's like, oh, nah, you got to go back south and then do a U-E at the Dunkin' Donuts and then come back. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's New Hampshire to me.
Are there roadblocks everywhere?
Right, but I just love the statement that summed it up. You can't get there from here.
Yes.
That's the stereotype.
Yes.
Is it like the opposite with Vermont, since they're like inverted states?
I don't know. I've never been to Vermont.
Honestly, they both look the same. It's you don't know where you are. Like you just you're looking at an oversized hill, a green pasture. If there's snow, you don't know. They're the same thing. You don't know where the lines are.
So people within both those states, would you say that their stereotype is a cluelessness, or they're just really into heavy cream, or what would you say would a stereotype?
They're high on snow. Probably jank them too, because I don't know exactly where it comes from, and I would have to think that maybe since they're secluded so much, it comes from there.
Yeah, I think
everywhere.
Give me liberty or give me jankum.
That's it.
I think New Hampshire is just basically Boston rednecks.
Yeah,
I think really like that.
It's a suburb of Boston. That's what New Hampshire is. It's a big suburb.
Vermont has its own weird fucking hippie white supremacist thing going on.
They're like a
Hippie
militia
white
type thing.
supremacists. What about Maine? Maine's a weird state. They're always like they're almost like the Florida of the North. They're so
Florida
angry that
of
it's
the
cold.
North.
No, they're always angry. It's cold. Like, why the fuck you live in Maine? Like, you're living in the uppermost tip of cold, in the United States. Why you live there? They're all angry about how cold it is all the time. I don't get it.
But they're crazy. It's beyond anger. They're kind of
because it's all the lobster that they have to eat.
I wonder if the mercury's making them nuts.
Could be.
That could very well be it.
Right?
All the
What about
mercury in the
Alaska?
lobsters.
Brendan's did some time in Alaska. Do you have a stereotype about Alaskans? Or
When I lived there, we used to call it Camp Alaska because there was 7 men for every 1 female in the state. The average age was about Anthony, like 37, 38, 39.
Anthony.
The Anthony age group.
The
I have
Anthony age group.
declared an age group my own name now.
Yes. Now
The lambtops.
so
The baby
It was-
faces.
when I was living there in the 90s, it was literally the Wild West. Prostitution was legal. There, hookers walked freely up and down the streets.
Gunslingers pulling
people
out
carried-
their revolvers and shooting
People
each
carried
other.
guns openly without
Yes.
anyone giving a shit. And
They
it
sold
was-
bath salts at the 7-Eleven.
that bath salts hadn't been invented yet, but there were more
had anal
strip
beads.
clubs.
They did a lot of
Maybe.
moose huffing.
Yeah, nothing like sticking your nose up a moose's ass.
Toys
Boy.
R Us sold
I
sold
think
anal
you're correct,
beads.
Brendan. There is nothing like sticking your nose up a moose's ass.
Oh,
That's
I'm telling you,
junky.
once you go there, you don't go back.
Once you
No.
go moose,
Yeah,
you don't go meese.
Alaska was an interesting place.
Why
You
is
would-
it that with moose, the plural of moose is moose? It's not meese like that is for a goose and geese. Can you explain
Because
that
it's
for me?
It's fucking
No.
moose.
No, I think that they fucked up and they used a lot of those things for other words and they didn't have any left when they got there. Like that's the only thing I could ever come up with, right? It's like, we used mice or meese, right? Like we used goose, we used
I think
geese.
if we could do the plural of moose being mice, that would be kind of awesome because it would just confuse the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, we got all these
bad
mice.
idea.
Got these mice like knocking over cars.
Also to like really think about it, right? Like I've had time in my life to think about some really stupid things, and this might be one of them. But I would
Welcome
just say
to
this.
the last hour of your life.
Yeah. So it's a moose, right? Like nobody really fucks with a moose. Like when you really think about it, like a moose and a tiger, right? Like both of those you don't fuck with. Like if you had to make an example, right? Like what else besides a moose? Why would you need to make it plural? Even if you saw multiple, you're really worried about one. It's not like a mouse where you're like, oh, there's 14 mice. That might get concerning. One mouse doesn't mean anything to me. Like if I see like 4 mooses, right? I'm like, it's a fucking moose. It's a moose. Look at the moose. Run from the moose. Like I'm not yelling about all the mooses because they're all going to kill me anyway.
It's not a bad point. I mean, there isn't a plural for tiger, is there?
Yeah, it's called tigers.
Well, mooses.
That's not a
Right?
No,
Exactly.
there's
Well, I'm saying,
only
like,
one tiger, and it replaces every other tiger.
Yeah,
So
I think
there's
about it,
actually
he has
not
a
more
good
than
point.
one tiger.
You're
in
not
this whole-
yelling at groups. If you see a lion, you're not like, watch out for all the lions. You're like, that fucking lion's going to eat me. You don't go, oh, all the lions, right? Like that doesn't happen. You don't do that. Think about that. It's so dangerous.
I think that does happen. I think you could be in a situation where
20
more than
lions
one
would be
lion would
scarier.
be coming at you,
Would be
and you go,
scarier.
"How do I get away from all of these lions?" I think that would be legitimate.
All I have to do is
If you had
outrun
a-
that lion.
I mean, you
just
can
have to be-
focus on one of them, but
I
you know, there's
just have to
another
be
one that might want to
faster
be
than
coming after you
Matt.
too.
That's it.
It's all a matter of whether you're being hunted by them in the wild or not. It's like saying only one wolf wants to eat me. No, they all want to eat you. There's a few wolves there that they're going to take you down. I'm just going to have to disagree with that particular point. But, I never disagree with anything, so that makes sense.
The problem with a moose is that they are really have poor eyesight and they're dumb as fuck. So they'll just charge, run at anything. They'll just do stupid shit. We used to when I lived in Anchorage, and when the snow would get high in the foothills in the mountains, they would come into town to forage. So like those scenes you see of the Alaska town where the moose is walking through, that's real shit. I'd be driving to work and there's like a moose like blocking the freeway, and everybody's like, people are getting out of their cars, they're throwing rocks at it. I mean, yeah, it was weird.
Oh, they
growing
don't
up.
give
It
a
was
damn.
weird living in. No, they don't.
You're not
give a
going to move a moose.
No. Hopefully you'll
That's
get
a
him to
Dr.
charge
Seuss
that
book.
other guy's car.
Yeah.
Well, a moose is kind of like the rhino of the Great White North, I would say, from the way
Yeah.
you described it. Basically blind,
Kinda.
stupid, run into anything.
Another
Mhm.
big animal that doesn't really have a plural.
Rhinos.
No, that has a
Rhinos.
plural
No?
also. Rhinoceroses is the plural for a rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros.
Hippo.
Just-
Wouldn't it just be
Just
mooses?
rhinoceroses. What's that?
Hippos?
Rhinos.
Hippo?
Well, hippopotami,
hippos?
you mean, is the plural for hippopotamus.
Get out of here with that.
No, there's no
hippos?
hippopotami.
What about hungry,
No.
hungry hippos?
No, it's totally like octopi, hippopotami. They do.
It wasn't
it's
called
actually
hungry,
legitimate.
hungry hippopotami. It was called hungry, hungry hippos.
Exactly.
Right, when you
So
shorten
mooses,
hippopotamus
hippo?
to hippo, then they do hippos.
Does anybody
Okay.
else have an obsession with hippos the way that I might? Because I find them.
We'll
Like, I
find you
wanna
a
have
date
one as
if
a
you're really
pet.
looking for one.
Yeah.
No, I want one as a pet, but the thing's it's gonna eat me after a certain point. I get it, but like, you know, when they're tight, like I want one of those as a pet. You know what I mean?
There are people
I
who
think-
have them as pets. If you go
I
on
think you have to
YouTube,
be a Mexican drug lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only time you're allowed to have one as a pet. Is
If you're El
Mexican.
Chapo.
So what level of Mexican drug lord do you have to be before you can actually, is there like a particular stage? Like, are you a level 20 Mexican drug lord before you get the hippo as a
No,
pet?
it's fifth level. When you get to fifth level Mexican drug lord, you get the hippo add-on.
Do you
It's part
get
of
That's
like
what
a
I see in
small
you
hippo
guys.
or a large size hippo?
You
I
get
mean,
one
you don't-
small.
Okay, one small one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna ask, in the fifth level, is that technically where you're always on the run? Because you usually only get these things when you're always on the run. Like you don't really have time to enjoy them when you're a Mexican cartel guy. Like at that point, you know what I mean? At that level of fame, you're kind of always on the run, and like a hippo's kind of there to distract the ATF. You know what I mean? Like when they come over your house, like, oh shit, don't go
They're
there, it's a
like,
hippo. You know, like, and then you
Oh,
can like
it's
go
a
somewhere else. You
hippo,
know?
shit.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point, right?
I want to kind of
Well, if
dial
you're
in on
smart,
the
you'll put
concept
armor
of.
on 'em.
I wanted to dial in on the concept of how you actually enjoy a hippo. So you said you don't really get to enjoy the hippo. What would you do, Anthony, to enjoy a hippo? And
Let's
maybe
keep it clean,
I shouldn't
Anthony.
ask
Keep it
this
clean.
question.
No, depending on the side. No, I'm a huge animal lover. Like, you know, with all jokes aside.
Do tell.
No, we
I-
need the jokes to stay.
No, a hippo, man. If I could, dude, I would just give me a hippo. Well, I don't give a shit. I pet the fucking hippo. I'll ride it. I'll do whatever. I don't care. Like, I just want a hippo. Like the
Play
same way I
cards
want a
with it.
polar bear. But I'm never gonna get one because a polar bear is one of my favorite animals, and I would love to have one, but I'll never own one.
Brendan nearly was eaten by a polar bear.
Yeah, I was, but I want a penguin. If I was gonna like pick some weird animal to just have running around the house, I think a penguin would be cool. Just kind of
They're adorable.
waddling around. They're adorable.
I want to
Polar
Penguins
bears
are,
are
but they're
scary
kinda-
as shit.
They could be mean.
Which state of the country do you think has people that look the most like penguins?
Oh,
Gotham City.
Gotham
not a
City? Oh, is that a real city now, Greg?
I say
my
Washington
mind,
D.C.
Is that a state?
Washington D.C. is pretty good.
Yes, Washington D.C. is a good call because those guys are all dressed up in their little suits.
My
Waddling
ex-wife
around.
used to say that the key export from Washington D.C. was television anchormen.
Yes.
Like that was
Makes
the
sense.
thing that they exported was TV anchormen. Because if you go to any city in the country and you look at their newscasts,
And bullshit.
everyone
Massive
looks
amounts
like,
of bullshit.
and that's where the janking comes in.
Yes. Jenkins came out of Washington.
Jankum. How do you spell Jankum? I have it as Jankum in my head.
That's
No, there's an H in there.
Oh, there's an H.
There is
Silent
an H in
H.
there. Yeah, it's more of a
Like this-
silent H, but it's
Is it after the J or after the K or how do you spell that? And
you know,
who-
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I know, yeah, I do remember.
Like, it's
I'll
people
actually- I'm
doing
gonna
it
type
probably
right
really
now,
don't know
let
how
me
to
see.
spell anyway. So I think there's
I would
probably that.
assume that there may be.
they
multiple
they
ways.
called their drug jankum. I mean, you know.
Well, we don't know if they called it that. You know, it could be somebody else
Oh,
who saw
they
him doing
did.
it.
They
Sorry.
did.
Urban Dictionary. Let me read this for you quickly. Urban
Yes.
Dictionary.
Please do.
Jankum. Jankum.
Okay. so no
Jankum is when
H.
you take a large crap and put it in a bottle with a balloon on top, and after a few days of extreme heat, sniff in the gas that accumulated in the balloon to go into a state of being high. Hold on, because this is where it gets good. It is
Oh yes.
how to use the term properly. Jim, yo, dude, I just took in 3 balloonfuls of Jankum and I'm so high right now. Kyle, get out of my face. That's disgusting, bro. I mean, that was literally in the Urban Dictionary.
Thank God they clarified it by that's so disgusting, bro.
Well, the Urban Dictionary is all. It's kind of like Wikipedia. It's like whatever somebody
Yeah.
decides they want the
It's
definition
it's
to
the
be.
ghetto wiki.
That's the sound of my rapping. Get a wiki.
Are there stereotypes about the province of Guam? Because we own it. Does that count as a state?
Is
No,
it a
it doesn't count
province?
as
Guam's.
Oh, is it a province, Greg? Is it part of Canada?
It's a territory. I mean, can,
Or
can we talk about the
Switzerland?
Guamanese?
The
Little-
Guamani.
What
Yeah,
Are
is
they
that?
called
Guamanians.
Guamanese?
Yeah,
Guamanians.
Guamanian.
I think
Guamanians.
Matt can say that having grown up in the Pacific Northwest, those people are big. Those are big people.
One.
Are they like Samoans?
No,
Yes.
Samoans are
Kinda.
more, or bigger
They're
than
big. They're not as
the
big as
Guamanians.
Samoans.
Well,
But-
so what is the actual level, right? Does it go like Filipino, Guam, Samoa, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
is that the
that's-
height size?
could
Like
be.
that you,
Yeah,
That
that's
sounds
pretty.
pretty
That's
accurate.
pretty accurate.
I lived in the
Right?
Philippines, and there's a native race in the Philippines called Negritos, and they're actually small people.
Yeah, they're not big
So,
people.
Yeah. And actually, in case some interesting Filipino trivia, they are the ones who invented the yo-yo as a weapon.
are they like pygmies? I hate to say that.
No, they're not that
like,
tiny. They're not that tiny.
But
Wait, is
that's
pygmies a slur now? Isn't that a thing? You can't say
it's a real
pygmy
thing,
anymore?
but
It's a
I don't
thing
know
they
who
use
you're
to describe certain hippos.
What?
pygmy.
There are pygmy
Oh,
hippos.
awesome.
Yeah, you guys not have heard of pygmy hippos?
No.
But
What?
if there is a way
Alright,
to
fine.
get a smaller version of a hippo that may be legal where I'm
Yeah,
not eaten, I
look
am
at your
going to
pet.
exercise every option.
Let me ask you guys: is it okay to say midget? I forget.
It's
It
not
is-
apparently.
Within the little person community, it is considered a slur.
It's uncool.
So
Okay.
so the preferred description is little person.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is
And-
ridiculous.
Or dwarf if they have dwarfism.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had to change this multiple times, and I don't go with politically correct things, but I'm just going to fill you guys in because I've already given you my hippo things. But
You know, I have an issue with political correctness as a term. It's basically, are you an asshole or not, as opposed to being politically correct. It's like, have we chosen to be an asshole regarding certain people? If you can own that, then you don't have to worry about
Not
being politically
necessarily.
correct or
Oh,
not.
wait, Anthony, let me address that asshole
Go.
statement. So you're telling me that if I say midget, that
Uh-huh.
that's not politically incorrect. I'm just being an asshole.
Yes.
Fuck you.
Especially if you know it. And then you decide
No,
to do it.
no,
Okay.
it doesn't work that way.
It
no,
does.
it does
currently
not
working.
work
It's working
way.
that way at this very moment.
Yeah,
I
and
think
that's
political
the problem.
political correctness was created because it was a way for people to say, you made me upset and gain more steam. That's really all it was, right? If I put you in a box and say, hey, you offended me without a plausible reason of why you offended me, just using my free speech, I could label it political correctness. And I could make you feel bad for saying your free speech to me and me not giving my free speech back, right? That's political correctness. That is the crux of what is in political correctness.
But there's a real reason behind it, though, because there are
No,
really
there's
shitty
not.
things you can say to someone.
no,
that
I
hurt
agree with
people.
you. Yeah, I agree with
And
you.
so it's nice not to do that, but it gets
but-
taken too far.
Well,
Like,
it's
for
like if you
example,
just don't give a shit how people feel, then
We've
I get
talked-
it.
we've talked-
No, that's different. No, that's different.
All right,
it's
tell us,
called-
Brendan, how is it different just because you believe it?
Okay. Well, let the Oregon people just chill for a second. So it's
I'm gonna write it
called
down.
it's called
I'm gonna write it.
political correctness because it's driven by political issues. It's not
Correct.
driven by any other thing. It's not driven by the English language. A midget is a word. Retard is a word. They've been made politically incorrect because of politics, not because
Correct.
retarded is bad as a word, or it's being an asshole, like I'm calling him fucking a moron, which would be pejorative. Retard was a word that existed. Midget was a word. Midget's a great example. 'cause
So is the
midget
word
was
black.
black.
If I call somebody black, I'm offending them because I'm not saying that they're African American, right? I'm call like so.
Well,
It depends
no,
on
now-
who you're talking
now-
to.
now
Oh, that's
it's
changed.
okay. It's okay to call them black, but African American is okay. But then there are other words that aren't okay. So
Yeah. So my whole
Obviously.
point was, I'm gonna have to change this because I always said if I won the lotto, and you guys can tell me if you would be in on this, there would be a couple things I would do by winning the lotto. Right. First and foremost, I would hire midgets in my house, my large house, to dress up in superhero costumes and serve my guests during parties. So could you imagine a little tiny Batman and Robin and Joker and shit like on rollerblades going
Adorable.
through, right? Serving people during the who gets mad at an angry person if they drop your drink, your food, they're never angry. It's a small person.
What if you get where
That
rich,
comes
you
under the
actually
heading
get
of
Oompa Loompas?
exploitative, but that's
You get
okay.
Oompa Loompas,
That would be
though.
your
Anyway,
choice. At least
anyway,
you're giving
go-
them jobs, right? You know, they're not
That's-
slaves in that sense.
But I'd also have a Shark Tank as my driveway.
And if you didn't
Right.
like how they serve the food, you throw them in the shark tank because they're little and they don't matter.
I did not go there. I do not
Yeah.
want to feed any of the small people to the shark,
Well,
but I
that's
just
good.
wanted to have very weird things at my house. And the one thing I would have is the thing at the banks.
So you're saying
That
little
money
people
shooter?
are weird. Got it.
Wait, what was the last
No.
thing you said? What was the last thing you wanted? I didn't hear it.
No, see, that's my whole point.
He's twisting it. No,
Yeah.
I would have the things at the banks where you put the money in, like to go to different parts of the house. So you would just sit kind of like in this little seat, kind of almost like a tanning bed, and then you could shoot yourself to the other part of the house. You know
Or
what I
like
mean?
pneumatic tubes?
Oh,
Yeah,
pneumatic
that
tubes,
was
that
the
would
one?
be super awesome.
So
Yeah, that'd be
imagine
cool.
going from like your bedroom to the basement to the man cave, and you just slid down this really big slide into like a ball pit. You know what I mean? Or like whatever else. I'm like, hey, I'm downstairs. It'd be Pee Wee's Playhouse on steroids.
I think I've actually heard of people who have something like that in their homes.
Yeah, but I
actually-
don't.
Pneumatic
So it
Yeah.
would be new to me.
Oh, I got
Yeah.
it. No, I'm just saying that it's not an unheard of idea. It's like not a horrible idea. I'm just saying that it sounds like.
But
it'd
I'm
be fun.
paying the small people too. Like I really like the small people, but like it was just always something I said like as a joke where I would say like it would just be really cool, to do something like that for like a day, and then
Yeah. Well, I think the point that I was trying to make regarding, whether you're an asshole or not is whether or not you know that you're deliberately offending people and you do it anyway. That's really my point. Now, if you're doing it inadvertently, that's one thing. But if you know that like this is going to offend a class of people, well, then you have to make that determination about yourself. Am I an asshole or not? You can go, yeah, I'm an
Okay.
asshole, and I'm going to say whatever I want because I don't want to be politically correct or whatever it happens to be.
Okay.
However you want to justify being a dick.
Okay, so
Oh, what's so wrong? Am I hurting your feelings, Brendan?
let
Am
me-
I being
no.
politically incorrect for you?
Actually, let me
No.
let me
No,
jump
go ahead,
in really
Matt.
quickly.
spew your
1
bullshit
second.
all
Let-
you want.
let
Well, I
Let
let
Jeff
you
talk.
spew
Let
yours.
Anthony talk.
Here's
can always
here's
argue.
one thing. Here's one thing I would
I'm
say.
exercising
Right?
my free speech, Brendan.
No, you're 100% to do that. But here's what I
Yeah.
would say. At what
Yeah.
point, who draws the line? If you can't trust the politicians who are making the laws or the people who are on TV, right? Because it's pushed one way or the other due to whatever interest or group or money, right? We know all of those are involved. So if we want to push race one day, look at laws being built, we're going to push race, right? If we're going to push this, who draws the line? If I'm having a conversation with you and you're not offended by what I'm saying, then it's all interpretation of whether or not I'm a jerk or whether or not I'm a good person. And actually, none of that really means whether or not my character is actually good or not. It's just how you felt that day. Because I could have the same type of conversation with you on Monday and Friday. Monday, you're okay, and Friday, you're pissed. Okay.
Well, if you're dealing
So-
with classes of people, right, and there are members who belong to these different
But why are we
classes
even
of
doing
people.
that? But this is my whole point. Why are we even doing that? Why are we?
Why did you call us cottontops? Because you wanted to put us in a particular category.
No.
Well,
just give
it's an easy way to categorize, and that's what
I was
happens. Is
offended.
people make easy categorizations about groups of people because it's easier to talk about them if you put them in a category. And what happens is you have a lot of people who have membership within that particular group, and they decide amongst themselves if what somebody's saying about them is offensive or not.
But
right?
it's not the
they have to-
majority.
What's that?
But it's not the majority.
It is
That's-
of that class, though, of that class of people. They
Stop
determine
with the
if they're going to
classes.
be offended by them. By
Stop
whatever
with the
people are saying.
classes. Why?
Well, no, it's
why
not
are we-
stopping with the classes. It's just how it is.
No, it's
There are
not.
groups
It's
of
not.
people.
No, it's
This is a recent
would be
phenomenon,
willing-
Matt. You make it sound like this is the way it's always been.
No, I would be willing. Ready? I grew up in New York
Well, it is
City.
the phenomena that we've been in. It's been going on for at least 30 years.
No,
Really?
no.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
Yes.
no.
What? When's
I
the,
grew up
when
in
was
New
the
York
first time
City.
you heard political correctness? It was back in the 90s.
80s. I heard in the 80s.
Yeah, maybe even the 80s.
but
Okay.
are we talking about the word, or are we talking about the exaggeration,
Correct.
the escalation of this issue?
Political correctness is a word that has been used for years. It is a way to bring to a conversation for people to bring gripes or vices or whatever the case is to the table, right? If you say, hey, let's be politically correct, it is kind of an olive branch to say, hey, you may have said something that I thought was offensive, or I may have said something that you thought was offensive, and let's meet in the middle and find what is the best for everyone overall, right? That is any way that I've ever looked at political correctness or how anybody should ever be. That's the fairest way I could ever think of how that goes, right? Hey, you said something, I said something. Let's put it in the middle. Let's make sure everybody wins to the best of the ability of what we can, right? Nowhere in life, in anything that you do, completely flipping something on its head to go the complete opposite direction of what somebody thought was wrong, that never works. Example, you want to take whether it's racism or poor people or whatever. You can't flip it completely and be like, okay, we're just going to go against this group who was doing this against this group before. That doesn't work. You have to meet
What
in the
about
middle.
ending slavery? What about the Civil War? We
Civil
stopped
War?
that.
That's
That's
like an
not-
open statement there, Greg. What about the
Well,
Civil
I'll
War?
t-
What about
I'll
ending
tell you that.
slavery?
I don't
What's your
think
point?
I don't think any of
Slavery.
us are saying slavery is good. That's really
No.
That's what
conflating.
I'm
No.
saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying as an example. You can't flip something on its head that's really bad and just say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And
I'm not saying
slavery
that.
is
I'm saying-
not the
okay.
same thing as using
Yeah,
a word.
I
It's
know
not
it's
the
not.
same
I
thing.
wasn't-
Well, it
I
used to
wasn't
be a long time
equivocating the
ago that if
two.
you were against slavery, you were not
I wasn't
politically correct.
equivocating the two.
No. I understand your question. My whole point is this: like that is an extreme, right? Obviously, like everybody
Yeah.
knows, like, hey, slavery is not good. Women being less than a man is not good, right? Are there
Yeah.
levels to this? Sure, right? Like, I get it. When plantain owners of when a country's made, it's kind of hard to pry that from their hands. Okay, right? Like if you have
Yeah.
total control of something, so let's flip that and get it together. And over the years, I think we've done a damn good job of a ton of people being happy to be black, white, brown, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. People come together. We see that now more than anything. But my problem is you can say, hey, this really offends me, but now you're just going to cancel people or you're just going to flip it completely over. That doesn't work. Look what's happening to comedy, right? Look what happens to sports. It's being directly affected because politics can't be kept out of places that we found safe havens. So what is safe anymore, right? If you can't go and have this podcast, if you can't go and have these discussions and say what you want, and we've been all saying colorful shit that could offend anybody. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. But if you can't do that and just have people say, hey, that's not my thing, I'm not going to listen to it. That's
Yeah,
not happening now.
I don't know sports very well, so I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but Colin Kaepernick, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
I think what he did was righteous, and he was canceled by the other side. It was right.
So you know
people
why,
who were
right?
against.
Okay, but here's
They,
my
they
point.
canceled him.
Yeah. And
No,
you're right.
no.
And that was fucked.
It was
Absolutely.
wrong. But can I
think
give
it
you
was
one
righteous
thing?
what he did. I think it was like
Let
he
me-
had to make a comment. His people are getting killed every day. Black people are just getting murdered. He said, "I got to do something."
Okay, so
I
I would
don't
ask
think
you
he's-
this. I would ask you this in all sincerity, from the bottom of my heart. One, show me the numbers that show that more black people are being killed than white, because majority of numbers that come out over time show that that is not true. Number
Well, there's more
two,
white people in America. Are you
Oh,
talking statistically?
no.
Oh
By
God, we're not
percentage?
getting funny anymore.
we're not going
people.
to not going. I'm just saying.
I
I'm just going
know.
to say this. Ready?
What
But
the
here's the other
fuck?
thing.
We're gonna delve into fucking black
No,
murder statistics
no,
now? Oh yeah, hey,
no. I'm
happy
gonna say
days.
one
Thanks
thing.
for listening, everyone.
No. I'm going to say one thing. One thing. If you're going to go and make a statement like that, don't wear pig socks and chastise cops on that side then, right? Because you're not doing the job. Like if you're over there, hey, we want social justice, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Don't start trashing the other part of it in your message. Where
All
you're
I-
now.
So
All I-
you want to
all-
craft their messages, is what you're saying. You want to be in charge of what they have to say.
No, all I'm saying is, as again, going back to being a little league football coach, when someone was hurt, everybody on
Got on the
both
knee.
teams took a knee.
Yep.
Both teams took a knee in respect to that person being hurt. And I
Yep.
think that all this bullshit, Kaepernick's, little league football thing just got lost in that that's what you do. It doesn't mean anything other than somebody is not doing well. It doesn't argue statistics. It doesn't argue anything other than I feel this way. People are being hurt. I'm going to take a knee.
I think it
And-
just comes down to just bad manners. Just a lot of people with bad fucking manners out there. That's really what
I
it comes
agree,
down
but I
to.
also say this. Why can't these people, and I always say this, I'll own what I say, right? Why can't they ever come out without the guise of a professional sports league to protect them, right? Or followers, and do it on their own time and say it. I'm not saying Kaepernick didn't or other people don't, but like, don't do it after the interview of a game. Come out on your own, right? And own what you're saying. not in a passing comment. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I want them to own it. I don't want them to go support me by mob, right? I want you to say it. Own what you say. Say it outside of it.
Okay, I get what you're saying, and I think Colin Kaepernick owned it completely and paid the price.
Oh, he did. Oh, he did. No, I'm
So-
talking like LeBron. I'm talking other people that make their comments.
I'm just saying, Colin Kaepernick.
No, he got thrown in the fire.
Yeah,
he got thrown in the fire.
A lot of people followed after him and did shit, but he lost his career because he did that. And that's.
Do you think he was a viable player, though? Do you think he was a viable player?
We're gonna start talking sports, Anthony, and these guys aren't gonna have any.
Okay, I'm gone. I gotta go. See you.
Yeah.
I was only asking because that is a big question, right? Like when you come to the validity of stuff.
You can have me on your podcast and we can talk football, and I'm happy to be there. But
I'll talk football, but I won't know what you're talking about.
We can talk about foosball. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm about foosball.
Actually, I haven't played that in probably 20 years.
When you win the lotto, you can buy your own foosball.
You could do that without winning the lotto, Greg.
I'm gonna have midgets play foosball
money.
for me. I'm gonna have a group of midgets, and I'm just gonna direct them to play football.
A live scale model foosball with midgets,
Dwarfs,
small people,
little people.
Dwarfs. If they have dwarfism, it's okay to call them dwarfs.
Right, because that'd be an accurate statement. Yeah.
But so was retarded.
Midget isn't an accurate statement because they're not
retarded.
Midgets.
Well, because they consider that to be a pejorative. They consider midget to be a pejorative.
How did I guess what I'm saying?
The only reason I know this is because I used to watch a show that was about little people, and they discussed this. It was like a normal topic for them. So
no, I get it, but
I'm being an advocate for the little people, and
I get it. But
not.
Don't you think little people is more pejorative than midget?
Not from their point of view.
Well, fuck them. They're being weird.
Well, there you go. That's where you've made the choice to be the asshole.
Little
that was my original point after all. So yeah.
Hey,
you proved me right, Brendan.
Here's the thing. No, if there was a midget, if there was a midget that came to my house and I knew that he preferred to be called a little person, I would call him a little person to soothe his mind. But I can't escape my own mental logic of that sounds fucking more demeaning to me than being called a midget.
Well, then you could have that conversation.
You guys calling people midgets or small people? Like once I know his name is Fred, I just fucking call him Fred. Like I don't know. Like that's the problem. I'm having a hard time. Like I never go up to him like, hey, Mr. Small Person, aka Fred, I wanted to talk to you today. Like, I know your name's Fred. I just call you Fred. Like,
and again, I would believe you if you hadn't opened up this interview by calling us cottontops, which cracks me up because that in and of itself is a categorization, right? Based upon an appearance.
Right.
But it's just a funny thing.
I'm not saying it's pejorative or anything. I'm just saying it's just a categorization. That's all. So,
but isn't midget just a categorization as well because his name is Fred?
Sure. Yeah, it's a categorization. It's like you're lumping a lot of people who are small with that term. Definitely.
Now, Anthony, when you met Fred, would you want him to dress up as Batman and serve you drinks? Would you force him?
And when do you broach that in the conversation? Because like I see you're smaller than normal size.
Hey, you want a
job? Really want to dress you up like as Batman and serve me drinks. Are you okay with that?
There's a couple questions. No. There's some prequel questions, right? Like, do you like Halloween? Are your weekends busy?
Do you like to fight crime?
Are your weekends busy? Do you like to suck toes?
Do you have any fears of being in public?
Has there ever been a cucumber too close to your anus?
Yeah.
Did you have a problem with that?
Well, I would just ask, like, whatever
did somebody say anus?
Yeah, anus came in there somehow, and
I think Matt thinks that Anthony wants these midgets to be sex slaves or something. He just wants them to serve him drinks.
That's wrong.
Matt,
that's wrong. Number one. Number two. The only
drinks.
other question I have is when have you ever used the word small before something and it was a good thing, right? Like, so when you say like small person, just back to the point.
Well, it's a small amount of cyanide.
No, that's like a very derogatory term, calling them a small person, in my opinion. Like, when is that ever good?
Person, I think, is the thing.
Well, I think it's up to them to decide if they feel it's derogatory towards them.
I'm still confused where anus came in. I don't know how that happened or when it happened, but all I know is
it's better than it's going in than going out.
Yeah, it's
you know why? Because the show about little people that Matt used to watch was called Bridget the Midget, and it was a porno.
What?
The show you said. I used to
Actually-
watch a show about little people.
Oh
were
no,
watching
we've
Bridget
lost
the Midget.
Brendan. Brendan
Oh,
has
no.
We
disappeared.
lost Brendan. And Bridget the Midget was a good show, by the way. It was only canceled due to the fact of changing time slots, but that was it.
Jankum time slots.
Yankum time slot.
Well, listen, we have had one of our more extended shows. It's definitely been a very, very lively discussion. Really appreciate having you on, Anthony. I'm glad you came on. You totally are a better interviewer than we are. So, but this does. I think it's a good time to end, because I don't know if anybody's going to listen to this whole episode if it's this long.
Probably
I
not.
hope they did. It was very enlightening and rewarding. for
It
listeners,
was.
bet.
I think it was.
You never know. I mean, I look back at least on the ones that are published on YouTube and the ones that have a lot of views. I go, really?
Yep.
So who knows?
Well, one was like a really pretty woman's picture, and I think that's what caused the traffic to go to that particular episode.
Well, now we have a very pretty man's picture.
Thank
We'll put him on the
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think Anthony is going to drive a lot of people to it.
I hope so.
drive.
Well,
Drive.
I'm joining Uber next month, so I'll drive a lot of people for you. Okay.
Hey,
Excellent.
his jokes are our quality too.
Come
So-
on, dad jokes. What's the difference between broccoli and a booger?
Oh no.
What?
Kid delete a booger. How do you make a tissue dance? Put a little
Put
boogie
a-
in it. Come on.
Yeah.
Put a little
I gotta
boogie in
let
it.
the jokes
I feel
sit.
like-
Come
I feel like
on,
I
these
knew
are
that
dad
one.
jokes.
You are a dad. You are a dad. So you have.
I
the
never
right
said they were
use
going to be funny. I said they were dad jokes.
I don't
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
were called dad jokes until Gen Xers started having kids, and then they became a thing. I think it's just Gen X had bad jokes.
Wait
But
a
the-
second, dad bod too, then, right? Because all that stuff kind of happened at that point. Nobody ever really called it a dad bod. They just called you a fat bastard,
Right.
And you
Yeah.
had kids, and it was assumed like you just like, hey, I'm fat. I got kids. I'm married. I got no life. I don't go to the gym. I'm overweight. Here we go.
Yeah.
Then there's like the last 15 years. All of a sudden, now you have a dad bod.
I've always had one. I've never had kids.
I've had a 3
I grew up
dad
with a
bod
dad bod.
because I've actually, I think, consumed 2 other dads to be part of my bod.
So are you
I-
the inspirational piece then, Greg, for dad bods? Like people were around the world going, if we're gonna call it a dad bod, that guy right there.
and
Like
he's not even a
I'm
dad.
not a dad though, so it doesn't make
Well,
sense.
you don't
Yeah,
have
so
to
he
be. They're
doesn't
just-
count.
you're just talking.
I never heard that term till just now. Never heard
I
dad
feel
bod.
this categorization is insulting to me as a dad with a bod.
Yes.
I don't
See?
want to be referred
Put
to.
us all into the category of dads.
Stop
There you go.
triggering
It's
him.
another category.
He's
It's a
triggered again.
grouping.
I'm sorry.
We've been
Go
grouped.
cut yourself in the bathroom, Brendan. Go in the
Oh
bathroom
my
and cut yourself
gosh.
again.
All right, I want to thank Anthony Williams III from the podcast The Independent Mouth, also the author of I'm having a weird problem with lisps these days. The author of On Borrowed
Gotta
Time:
stop
The
drinking
Reinvention of
before
the
the show.
Lost Soul.
Are you from Barcelona?
He's from Vermont.
I'm from Ibiza and Spain.
Ibiza.
Sorry.
Pain.
Would
Oh
you make
my
me some
God.
gazpacho? I want some gazpacho.
Anyway, I'm very sorry, Anthony, that you had to be part of this today, but we greatly appreciate it. Unfortunately, our client again didn't get much attention, which was Case Your State, but we gave it a little bit of attention. So we're done.
Well, I want to thank you guys.
Well, thank you.
You've left the offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. It's over. It's over. It's time for you to go home. It's over. It's over. Go away now.